Ready to begin the presentation, press the Start Broadcast button on the GoToWebinar control panel to allow all attendees to hear you. This system will notify you once you begin your broadcast. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
In the questions or comments section, if you could indicate that you can hear us, we want to make sure we do a little bit of a sound check before we get started, and then we will begin here in just the next minute or so. Thanks. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks so much. We can see that you guys were able to hear us. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and get started because we're right about 12 o'clock. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us for our Peace Corps and AmeriCorps at Rollins webinar. We're really happy that you've joined us. My name is Emily Lakemaker, and I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment and Student Life here at the Rollins School of Public Health. And I'm joined by 3 of our current students, and I'll let them introduce themselves now.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily Frost. I'm a first year in the Global Health Department here. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Burkina Faso.
I'm Emma. I'm also a first year environmental health and epidemiology student, and I served as an AmeriCorps Vista in Western North Carolina.
Hi, and I'm John. I'm a first year global health student concentrating in sexual health and reproductive health, and I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Peru.
Great. So you can see our agenda here and the different things we're going to cover. It's going to be relatively informal. You should see at the top right hand of your screen the opportunity to type in any questions you may have in the questions section. So feel free to do that throughout the webinar. And then at the end, once we get through our presentation, we'll read all of those aloud and just go around and answer as many as we can get through in the hour. And then also the last slide has my email address. So if we don't get to anything directly that you've asked, you can certainly email me and we can make sure that we get all of your questions addressed. And so with that, we'll go ahead and move forward with getting started. So first up, we just kind of want to review our departments. So when you apply to the School of Public Health, you have to apply to a set department. And it's basically kind of like thinking about a major when you're applying to undergrad. And I'm not going to sit here and read all of this. I'm sure you guys can kind of go through and do some research on this. I do highly recommend doing as much research as possible on the departments when you are looking at applying. It's not unheard of changing departments once you're here, but it's not exactly easy. So, it just works out best for everybody if you're fully informed of the department that you're thinking about and applying to. And one thing that we can do is put you in contact with our student ambassadors that are in these various departments, and you can talk with them directly, like via email or something like that, to learn more about the programs and get kind of more of a student insight on that. And when you apply, you will have the opportunity to apply to up to 3 different departments. When you apply through SOFIS, you'll apply through your number 1 choice. So let's say that that's health policy and management. That's what you'll put on your SOFIS application. Once we receive that application in office here at Rollins, in our office at Rollins, we'll then send you an email with instructions on how to submit your second and third choices to us. And the way that it'll work is that you will first be reviewed by your first choice, and if that department either denies or waitlists you, then you will be reviewed by your second and third. So it's really important that you put them in the order of how you want to be reviewed, because you won't necessarily be reviewed by all 3. So just to kind of give everybody an idea of what our incoming class looks like, what competitive students look like, we wanted to put this up here for you guys. We bring in anywhere between 500 and 550 students each year. You can see our average age is 27. We have about 40% of our students come in straight from undergrad, and about 60% are coming in with some type of work experience. Usually that's ranging in the 2 to 3 year range of work experience of students coming back. but we have a lot that have been out of undergrad for 5+ years. So it's, I think some people tend to get a little intimidated by that and a little scared to come back to college, to a university setting after that, but it's not uncommon within our program at all. You can see our average GRE scores there is a 157 on both the quant and qualitative sections, and about a 4 on the analytical writing. And our average GPAs there for incoming students, for admitted students, a 3.5 if you're coming with an undergraduate degree, and about a 3.65 if you have completed graduate work. The thing that I want to really press upon you about these numbers is that they are just averages. So I think people tend to see these and freak out and think, oh my gosh, I've got a 150 on the quantitative, so I'm not even going to bother to apply. And that's certainly not the case. It's a very holistic approach, and people tend to roll their eyes when they hear us say that because they don't believe us, but it is very true. If we did our admissions process based solely on GRE scores and GPA numbers, we wouldn't need admissions committees. A computer could do that program. A computer program could make that decision for us. But yet we have admissions committees within each department that are reviewing every single part of your application. So if you feel you're weak in one area, just make sure you show your strengths in all the others to really show yourself as a whole candidate. So I just don't want anybody to see these numbers and think I don't hit right there, so I'm not eligible to apply, because that's certainly not the case. And then the last little section there, you can see where we kind of break down by some of our demographics. We've got 40 states represented with this current class and 27 countries. Our male to female ratio is pretty par for the course in schools of public health. I think John can certainly probably attest to that.
Yes, all my classes have females.
Yes.
More females.
Yeah, so that's just kind of across the board within programs and the field of public health. We've got about 16% of our students are made up of our international students, and 37% self-report as minority. So just a quick overview of what it takes to apply to the school. First and foremost, you want to get very familiar with the SOFIS program, SOFIS website. Everything has to go through SOFIS. You're not going to be submitting anything directly to us. And you can see here we've listed some of the information on being able to apply to up to 3 programs of your top choices. So be sure you are using that that ability to apply to up to 3, because there's no additional cost. You don't have to pay the extra, I think, what is it, like $45 or something like that in SOFIS to apply to each one of the 3 programs. It's a 3-for-1 deal, basically. You'll have to submit transcripts from every institution that you've attended. So even if you did like a study abroad through some other institution as a transient or a transfer, any type of college credit, you'll definitely need to have an official transcript submitted. Official meaning it has to come from the university in a sealed envelope and sent directly to SOFIS. It can't just be something you print off and send in as a PDF. 3 letters of recommendation. The minimum is 2, but you can submit up to 3. And SOFIS won't hold your application if there's 1 outstanding. So let's say you put in for 3 people to write letters for you and only 2 have submitted them. SOFIS will go ahead and send your application on to us. And then once that 3rd comes in, they'll send it along. But they won't hold it and hold everything up just because of that 1 outstanding letter. Standardized test scores, GRE is most common. A few departments do accept MCAT and GMAT. So you'll want to reach out to those directly if you have those test scores. So reach out to your department that you're applying to directly to see if that's something they will accept. Keep in mind that test scores do need to be within 5 years old, no older than 5 years. And there are a handful of exemptions for our standardized test scores. Our executive MPH program, the two of the 3 tracks within that do not require it. If you're applying to our BSHE program, Behavioral Science Health Education, and already have a completed master's degree, you do not have to submit those scores. And if you've earned a doctorate or an MD from a school in the U.S. Within any of our departments, you do not have to submit your standardized test scores. So those are some things to keep in mind. You'll also submit a personal statement. This is really the only writing sample that's required. And in this is where you really want to talk about why public health. How did you get involved? What kind of sparked this interest? You want to avoid cliches like saving the world, things like that. But this is really where you want to tell us your professional goals, how you want to contribute to the field, and again, just kind of what got you into this field. And then any research work, volunteer, honors, any of that, you'll have the opportunity to submit either like a CV or a resume. And even if these things are not public health related, that's absolutely fine. Again, going back to the fact that this is a very holistic process, we really just need to know anything and everything about you that you think would make you a competitive candidate. So if you've done research in another field, that's great. A lot of those skills are very transferable into the public health world. And international students always have a few extra steps they have to take, including TOEFL scores for English proficiency, and transcripts from any school that's outside of the U.S. They do have to be evaluated by WES, which is the World Education Service. And for visa purposes, you have to show a financial certificate that shows funding for at least 1 full year of study here in the U.S. So current students, do you guys have any insight on the application process or any tips or any things that kind of tripped you up while you were going through the process?
I remember SOFIS being down a number of times, so just make sure you leave yourself enough time to get everything done before the deadline.
Yeah, especially in the high volume times, I think SOFIS, they're always going through the back end to try to do like program updates to avoid that, but yeah, it'll happen.
And I know I was applying in Peru while I was a Peace Corps volunteer, so keep that in mind. I was in Lima, but I know other volunteers who were in like rural areas who were trying to like get the SOFIS application together and without internet, and just keep all of that into consideration. And I believe the 3 letters of recommendation, one should be from like an undergrad year, like a professor, one should be like someone like in a work related setting, and the 2 are required, so the 3rd one could be.
Yeah, that's a really good point, John. And if you are pretty far out from undergrad, if you're a 3, 4, we certainly understand that, and we wouldn't necessarily expect that. The closer you are to undergrad, we would like to see that. But if you're several years out, we certainly know that you may not be able to go back and do that. Really, we just don't want to see them coming from like, your mom.
Your best friend.
I shouldn't have to say that, guys, but seriously.
I was 4 years out of undergrad when I applied, and I did not have a letter of recommendation.
Yeah.
But I had from where I was currently working, and also from my Peace Corps supervisor.
Yeah. So a lot of the questions that we get for these kind of things is it depends, is the answer that I find myself saying a lot. So, all right. So moving on, I think to one of the more important things are funding opportunities. So I'm not too sure where a lot of you guys are in the application process, or if you're thinking about applying. But those of you that kind of may have started this may be aware we had our priority deadline for applications on January 5th. And basically what that means is that any application received by then was automatically considered for our merit-based awards. The thing that I really want to emphasize is that we're still accepting applications for fall of 16, and there are still funding opportunities, which all of these we're going to talk about. So that's not, if you didn't get it in by that January 5th deadline, we're still accepting them, and there's still ways to get money. So if you walk away with anything today, walk away with that. So some of the things that I just definitely want to bring to your attention, first and foremost is REAL, which is Rollins Earn and Learn. And this is basically our work-study program. Several years ago, the federal government removed public health as one of the academic fields that was eligible for federal work-study funds. So we just created our own program. I guess we took our ball and went home. So that's okay, because it's great for our students. You do have to fill out FAFSA to apply to that. And you'll hear me say that over and over. I'll probably say FAFSA a lot on this slide, because the sooner you fill it out, the better. Most of these awards here, especially the REAL awards and the NeedBased awards, the only way to be considered for those is filling out the FAFSA. And while we're talking about that, I think some students, especially those of you that may be coming straight from undergrad, keep in mind that when your FAFSA is being reviewed at for graduate school, even if you're still dependent of your parents, their income is not taken into consideration with what you're awarded as part of your financial aid. So if you've been denied some type of financial aid all through undergrad because of your parents' income, don't let that dissuade you or discourage you from applying again as a grad student. It's a completely different review process, and it's reviewed in an entirely different manner. So and you can't be considered for any of these awards without it. So just fill it out, get it done, and the sooner you do it, the better. It's already up and open for this coming year, so you can go to the FAFSA website and knock it out. So getting back to REAL, like I said, it's basically our WorkStudy program. If you are awarded this as part of your financial aid package, it means you're then eligible to apply for what we call REAL jobs, our Rollins Earn and Learn jobs. And those are jobs across the city that we have created partnerships with at places like the CDC, the Carter Center, American Cancer Society, here at Rollins, across the Emory campus, tons of other agents. I mean, a lot of small public health nonprofits across the city. So we've got about 300 to 350 or so current students in the REAL program that are working in public health jobs while getting their degree. And we're talking, maybe 10 to 20 hours a week, usually about 15. Obviously, school is the first and foremost important priority on that, but you are getting this amazing experience doing actual public health work. We're not talking like getting copies and making coffee. It's doing real analysis or program development or evaluations. It's real things. So you can earn up to $2,000 a semester or $4,000 a year if you are working in a REAL job. And international students are actually eligible for this as well, and they can apply for it once they're here as a student in their first semester and apply to be awarded it in their second. So it's not exclusively a domestic student program. Next up, we've got our Service Corps Awards. So this certainly would pertain to most of you guys that are on the webinar right now, I would think. So any student that has completed their Peace Corps service and is applying and is given acceptance into the school gets an automatic $10,000 scholarship. So it doesn't matter at what point you applied. If you completed Peace Corps and you get in, you get $10K. Same for AmeriCorps. If you've completed your AmeriCorps service, we give you a $6,000 award. That just as of yesterday, I just got the announcement that got upped from $5,000, so it's now $6,000. I think the Siegel Award recently got upgraded to about $5,800, so that's why we upped it to $6,000 to try to keep that in line with matching with the Siegel Award. So between those two, you're close to about $12,000 as an AmeriCorps student. Teach for AmeriCorps, we give $5K, and Masters International. So this is a program for students that want to enter the Peace Corps upon completion of their MPH degree here. And so if you're in the MI program, you're going to school, getting your degree, and in the 2 years that you're here, you're also going through the Peace Corps application process. We also have weekly seminars that you would attend that you basically learn skills and leadership development that you would need for once you're placed in country. And if you are accepted into the Peace Corps program while you're going through this MI program, you're giving a $2,500 award from us at Rollins that's awarded to you at the end of your second semester of your second year, basically to help in the transition of graduating and then starting your service. But with students that are going through the MI program, usually their service starts very quickly after graduation. We're talking a couple of weeks. You're on a plane to go start your training. Next up, we've got Yellow Ribbon, which is a Veterans Award. It's $2,500, and that is awarded to 2 post 9/11 veterans each year. And dependents are also eligible for this. So if you are a dependent of a veteran, a son, daughter, spouse, whatever, that is a award that you're eligible for as well. You don't have to be the one that actually served. And then finally, we've got our NeedBased Awards. This first one is brand new and just got announced yesterday. It's our RSPH tuition grant. Again, you will only be considered for this if you fill out FAFSA. If you get that filled out, then you'll automatically be considered for this. We'll be awarding 40 of these each year, and it's $8,000 over 2 years, so basically $4,000 a year. We've also got Letty Pate Whitehead, which is an endowed scholarship from this particular foundation. It's a $12,000 award plus REAL. So basically that makes it 12 plus 4, so what, 16? So that basically makes it a $16,000 award. So you get $12,000 in tuition assistance plus the REAL award, which then it would allow you to apply for those REAL jobs. And you can see here the stipulations for that. That is awarded to Christian females from the southern states that are listed that demonstrate financial need. And then we also have our Lupton Jones and Ivory Henson Awards. Those, again, are just need-based awards, and they'll just be reviewing your FAFSA forms, and those range from $4,000 to $6,000 each. So you can see, even if you missed the Merit Awards, Merit Award deadline, there's still plenty of other funding opportunities. And one thing we haven't even talked about, too, are opportunities to work on campus as a teaching assistant or a research assistant or a graduate assistant. Do any of you guys probably don't, I mean, because you guys all have your real jobs. So
I'm a graduate research assistant on a study through my real job, but I do know some other students who work on the study in addition to their real jobs.
Yeah, so those opportunities are certainly there. We have 2 graduate assistants that work here in our office doing recruitment and admissions work. There's a lot of teaching assistants. To be a teaching assistant here within Rollins, generally it's only second years because you have to take a class before you can TA it, more or less. But I always encourage first years to look at the undergrad side of campus, because chances are if you're here as a graduate student, you're probably eligible to TA a class of something that was within your undergrad major or something along those lines. So that's a good opportunity too. So just keep all that in mind, and if you're thinking about applying for fall of 16, there's still certainly plenty of funding opportunities available. So next up is student life. I think one of the things that makes Rollins unique is our very, very active student life, especially for our graduate school. I think grad school can sometimes feel a little bit kind of commuter-y. I guess we'll make that a word. You know, kind of look at a bit of a commuter school. People show up, they go to class, and then they leave. And that's certainly not the case here. We have students that are just here throughout the day. We've got lockers downstairs for all of our students to use. We've got a kitchen downstairs with a handful of microwaves and refrigerators, so people can kind of come and bring in whatever they need throughout the day, so that way they're not having to leave campus. We've got lots of space for students to just kind of hang out or set up shop and do group work or have club meetings. There's there's a lunch hour from 12 to 1 that there's never any classes planned, so that's when a lot of groups get together to have their meetings, or we'll have like brown bag lunch series, things like that. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved on campus, and it's really encouraged. You know, I can't, most of our students that are involved, you know, I don't think they would later say they regretted it. You know, I think it just really kind of helps in the experience. We've got easily more than 20 active student orgs. The ones that I've listed here are just a small sampling. These are some of the more active groups that we have on campus. They host regular events, everything from social events to professional events to networking events to conferences. Our Emory Reproductive Health Association group hosted a conference this past November on basically looking at reproductive rights through a social justice lens, and had some really great speakers. And then our Student Government Association hosts a monthly event called Combos on Tap, and where they just bring in some non-alcoholic drinks and some kegs and get catering from a local restaurant. And it's really just a time for the whole school to come and hang out, both faculty, staff, and students, and get a chance to talk and be just kind of together in a very informal setting. Then we also have our fall fling and second year send-offs, which the easiest thing to describe those as is public health prom.
Yes.
Which is, you know, you get dressed up and you go dance and hang out with everybody. So, and to get involved with these clubs, it's super easy. We do student org fairs during Visit Emory, which is our admitted student event that we'll have late March, early April. And then during new student orientation, we also have a student org fair. And the orgs just set up tables and have their leadership there, and you can kind of go around and get an idea of what they do and if it's something you think you'd be interested in. Again, we can put you in contact with current students with any one of these groups if you want to talk with them to get an idea of it. And then also, if you see something missing and you want to start your own club, that's absolutely possible. That's why we've got so many, because students have just taken the initiative and thought, this is missing, so I'm going to create it. So getting involved is really easy, and I think it really just kind of helps enhance the experience. You know, public health is relatively a small field. So the people that you're going through, your cohort, the people that you're going through this program with, they're going to be your colleagues really for the rest of your professional career. So we think it's really important to give students the opportunity to develop these kind of bonds outside of the classroom, but also in more of an informal setting like this. All right, so with that, I'm going to stop talking, and I want to turn it over to our students because they're really the ones that you want to hear from. And they're just going to kind of go by one, or very conversationally, however we want to let this evolve, and kind of talk about their Peace Corps or AmeriCorps experience, where they were, what they did, what their grad school choosing experience was like, what was important to them, what they were looking for in a school, how they landed on Rollins. And then kind of overall their experience here. All these guys are first year, so they've been here for a semester and 2 weeks.
Yes.
But they're seasoned veterans at this point. So John, if you want to get us started.
All right. As I mentioned, I'm John, and I served in the Peace Corps in Peru. I was there from 2011 until 2014. So I was a community health promotion volunteer where I worked with teenagers on sexual health, leadership skills, and I worked with mothers on nutrition project. And then I extended a third year and worked in the Lima Peace Corps office while also working with the Ministry of Health in Peru on their adolescent health program. So a lot of good experiences there, and Rollins loves people with experience, and there's like 1/4 or more of our cohort are Peace Corps volunteers. Mm-hmm. So the first day when you're like, if you're a Peace Corps volunteer, like you will see almost everyone standing up.
I think we've got like close to 80 or 90 total within the two cohorts. Exactly. Out of 1,200 people, there's like 80 of them that are RPCV.
And it's very like Rollins loves that because like they bring an added perspective in classroom discussions, and maybe if you read a journal article or the professor's presenting on something, you're like, oh, I wish I knew that in Peace Corps because my project would have went successfully. So it's a way to like retroactively like think of what you did and how you could have corrected it. Why Rollins? Like I've heard of Rollins in my undergrad year actually. One of my supervisors at my work study job, her daughter was here in the environmental health program, and that's when I switched from pre-med to public health after taking organic chemistry. So
that's a typical route. That's how we get students.
I was like, no, thank you. So I changed over, and she was like, oh, let me put you in touch with my daughter, talk to her, and actually one of my cohort mates was a MI student from Rollins, again in the environmental health program. So I had Rollins all around me for like a couple years without even knowing I was going to apply. And then I applied, and one thing I looked for was in a graduate school are the connections that I can make with professors and with organizations around the school area and what kind of experiences and opportunities they have. And Rollins I applied to Johns Hopkins, Rollins, UNC, and Tulane, and Rollins by far beat all three of them out. So when it comes to connections and everything, so that's what landed me here.
Excellent. And overall assessment of your experience so far?
Amazing. Like this summer I'm leading a team to South Africa working with sex workers, and I'm working closely with 2 professors. So it's giving me the opportunities that allows me to hone on these skills to create a 100-page proposal, which I've never done before in English, and stuff like that. So it's really helped, and the guidance of the professors, I couldn't have asked for better faculty advisors and everything to help me and push me to my limit.
Excellent, thank you.
I can go. Yeah, so I did an AmeriCorps Vista straight out of undergrad. Like I said, I was in North Carolina, and I worked at a Title I elementary school, which is just the qualification for how many students qualify for free and reduced lunch. And I worked with community and family outreach, especially among low-income families, trying to make sure that their academic needs were met and that they were feeling comfortable in the school. Because North Carolina, someone coming from the north, the south is much different. So I learned that pretty quickly. Similar to John, I applied to like the standard kind of top of the list public health schools, and I wasn't sure how to differentiate them at that point because they all seemed very good, very strong, located in areas with public health events going on. But Visit Emory was kind of what really changed my mind. So I highly recommend y'all come to that. But it was just, I did a number of visit events, and Emory, the professors all came out, they talked, they were super warm and welcoming and wanted to know about my interests, very involved, and that was something that I didn't really experience at other schools. And Emory also definitely has a big focus on the master's students, not the PhD students, which was, again, somewhat uncommon among the schools I visited. And Emily mentioned it before, the REAL program was huge for me. The extra money is wonderful, but it's really just the experience that I think is the huge benefit for it. Getting to put that on my resume when I'm applying for summer positions, and here I have this real-world public health experience working with some of the leading names in the field, getting to solidify the skills I've learned in class has been so valuable in ways that I hadn't even expected. And I'm thrilled here. I love it. I'm super busy, but in the best way.
Yeah.
So I'm Emily. I'm a first year in the Global Health Department. When you say Peace Corps to people, the image they have in their head is essentially what I was doing in Burkina Faso. I was in like a mud hut with no electricity or running water. I had to learn 2 languages to communicate with people, and I was a health worker. So I was working with nurses and midwives in my village to help them better communicate with the villagers and improve their practices, and also work with the villagers to improve their health knowledge. After I came back from Peace Corps, I worked for a few years before applying to Rollins. And what I was really looking for in a school, since I did have that work experience, I wanted to learn hard skills that would help me transition into a public health career. And I will definitely say now in my second semester here, I'm like the biggest dork because I'm so excited about all of my classes because all of my classes this semester, I'm learning hard skills that I can definitely see helping me transition into the professional world. Even this summer with my practicum experience in the field, those tools will come in useful. And as Emma said, also the REAL program here is really great. It's a foot in the door to working with public health professionals that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise gotten the chance to work with, but I'm working one-on-one with a professor here on a research study, and just being able to have that connection is really, really great.
And also one other thing that Emma mentioned about on Visit Emory, the professors were out, the deans were out, like everyone was just circulating. And the difference from Emory to other schools of public health, like on their visit weekend or day or whatever, that happens also, but it doesn't stop once you get here. They're still out at events. They're still like have an open door policy. They're like, come bother me, come talk to me, ask me for advice. We could just sit and chat for about anything you want. And that's the thing that really stuck out with me with Emory and the Rollins professors and deans. I could go into Dean Curran's office and just talk to him about, so tell me about the AIDS crisis in the 80s. And he'll just be like, yes,
tell me about
you
starting the very first CDC task force when it wasn't even called AIDS, and we didn't know what it was.
And we didn't know what it was. And I'm like, tell me how that felt. How did that make you feel? And he'll just go on for hours until his secretary is like, you have a meeting. So like that is the kind of experience you'll have when you come to Emory with like professors and like staff members and deans and everything. So it doesn't stop at Visit Emory. It happens when you're actually a student here.
And just to kind of, I know we've kind of been using the term Visit Emory, just to, and we do that a lot. We tend to use our own vocabulary and acronyms. So Visit Emory is our admitted student 2-day event that once you get your acceptance, for those of you that are applying right now, once you get your acceptance packet, there's information in there about it. It's going to be Thursday, March 31st and Friday, April 1st. And it's basically just a 2-day extravaganza of us showing you all that we have to offer. We have a research and opportunities fair. We have a student org fair. Our student government puts on one of the combos that we were talking about. They'll have that on a Thursday night. So that way, you can kind of get a chance to mix and mingle with all the current students. You get to visit classes. You go to a department meeting. Really, it's just a time to get to meet as many current students and faculty and staff as possible. And so it's a great event. We really do try to encourage students to come. We do provide travel grants. So if money is a hurdle, please let me know and we can point you in the direction of applying for the travel grants, because we don't want that to be a barrier between you and getting to come here, because I think visiting the schools is so important. Again, everybody here applies to pretty much the same. When you ask people what they apply to, it's going to be the same top schools. And our job isn't, the one thing that I don't want to ever do is try to sell our program to somebody. We just want to make sure that you're in the right spot that you need to be. So, if you've got a certain research area that lines up with another program, that getting to visit the school is a great way to learn that. So, we never want to sell a program. We really just kind of want to show you what we have to offer, and if it matches up with you, that's even better. All right, so I think with that, we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. So again, in the upper right-hand box, you can, in the upper right-hand of your corner of your screen, you can type in the questions. So we're just going to go ahead and read through these and start answering them. So Allison was asking how many RPCVs come in for any given class. Usually about 40 or so. It's a big number. We've got about 80 in the program right now. So Jared is asking, I have a question regarding choosing your second and third program choices. When will we need to submit a new personal statement? What's the general time frame for submitting them? So great question, Jared. When you'll submit your second and third choices upon getting the email from us saying that we've received your initial application, please now give us your second and third. You will be notified if you've been denied or waitlisted, you'll be notified from your first choice. And then that's when our admissions office would reach out and say, if you would like to provide another personal statement to submit for your second and third choices, you can do so. So the admissions office would reach out to you directly about that, and you could you'll just respond back to that email and attach your personal statement, and we will get it to the correct department. Allison is saying, I'm already accepted and deferred until fall 16. Can I reapply to REAL, and will I be reconsidered for need-based financial aid? If you fill out your FAFSA right now, Allison, yes. So FAFSA is going to be reviewed each year, regardless of when you deferred. And following that same timeline, do you know when I might expect my updated acceptance letter? So you won't get a necessarily updated acceptance letter, Allison. You'll be getting a letter from the admissions office basically just confirming that you do intend to enroll this particular semester or this coming semester. And then we do have the deposit deadline of April 15th to hold your spot. So just look for that communication. Heyun, and I apologize if I'm destroying that name, is asking, will RSPH tuition grantees eligible for REAL? I asked because Letty Pay Whitehead says 12,000 plus REAL, which makes me wonder if some would not be eligible. Okay, so it looks like you're asking about just the REAL eligibility. So you do have to fill out the FAFSA form in order to apply for that. And it's really, REAL is more of a first come, first serve, even more so than financial need-based, but the FAFSA form is what we used to make those awards. So the sooner you get it filled out, the better. And there's no guarantee of getting it unless it's part of an award that it's connected to. But just you can only be considered if you fill out that FAFSA form. Let's see. Allison is asking, please direct me towards information for a travel grant for Visit Emory. So Allison, when you get your acceptance package, there'll be information on how to log into our admitted student portal, and all the information will be there. Mary is asking, how large are the cohorts at RSPH? We bring in about 500 or so students, but then that sounds like a lot, but then you've got to think that's across 7 departments. And so within each department, your cohort may be significantly smaller. Like biostats, that's 25 to 30 students. Global health is around 100. So it really just kind of depends. But I mean, you guys do you feel overwhelmed by the size?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Because everyone is so different and diverse, as Emily mentioned earlier, like the diversity, like between international students and the experiences, and even if like 40 students of average are Peace Corps, they're from Peace Corps all over the world, and it's not like, oh, Peace Corps Africa is the hugest chunk. So there's a lot of diversity and experiences, and it doesn't even feel like it's a the first couple core classes are in like the big auditorium, but it feels more homey than that.
I also want to add that some cohorts are really small. Like I'm in the joint environmental health
Oh,
equity
yeah.
program, and there's 7 of us per this year. Last year there were 5, so they're all so.
Yeah, so you got 12 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get it down to like a very small group.
And I actually enjoy that global health in particular has a large cohort because, as Jen was saying, that diversity of experience really in the classroom helps me see things from a different perspective, and I think that's a really rich environment to be in.
So Lori's asking, do most students participate in REAL? We've got about 350 that are in the program right now, and we're always trying to increase that in terms of our funding. The way that it works is that we basically find these different organizations to partner with to create jobs for our students under the REAL program, but we, as in Rollins, are paying half of that salary, and then the organization pays the other half. So there is incentive for organizations to want to partner with us because they're getting very experienced, very high quality students to come work for their organization at basically half the cost. But it is a matter of, we're constantly trying to increase our funding on that to create more partnerships. Emma is asking, when do accepted students get information about financial aid? Financial aid packaging notifications go out late March. It could happen earlier, but we like to give the later time frame. So just look for that in about late March, and that would be in your Opus. All that stuff would be in your Opus account information. Kara is asking, if I completed my AmeriCorps service in 2015 and my Siegel Award was $5,000, am I still eligible for the updated $6,000 amount from Rollins? Absolutely. So anybody coming in from fall 16 and on would be eligible, would be awarded that $6,000 grant, matching grant from us. And Kara's asking, are REAL positions just for one semester, or can you continue your assigned job throughout the 2 years? Yes, so you'll still have to fill out your FAFSA, but if you get awarded, it's pretty much, if you're awarded it in the beginning, you'll continue to get it, but you do have to continue to fill out your FAFSA each year. And if you enjoy your position and the organization that you're working for continues to keep that position, then absolutely. We have students who have maintained the same REAL position throughout their time here. And some who, maybe find a new one and want to try something different. But absolutely, you can, if the opportunity is presented, you can certainly keep it. Jared is asking about Emory's partnerships with the CDC and potential opportunities. So we do have a lot of REAL positions that are based out of the CDC. So students have the chance to do that. A lot of our students will maybe use data that's been collected from the CDC and that hasn't really had much done with it yet as their data set for their thesis, which I think is kind of a smart idea, because then you don't have that situation of maybe not being able to collect enough data in order to write your thesis. So because it's already there. So that's an option. And then we have some professors that are doing like joint research projects with researchers at the CDC. And so there's the opportunity to get hired on for those. So there's a lot of different ways for students to get involved. And we have about 700 Rollins alumni that are currently employed by the CDC. So you can't, and it's literally next door to us. We didn't mention that part. Some people know that, but like it's like
you can see it from
you can see the CDC. So it's literally next door to us. Arena is asking, if you have done 2 years of AmeriCorps, does the grant for AmeriCorps members increase at all? It's just regardless of how long of your service is for either AmeriCorps or Peace Corps, it's still going to be that standard award. So $6,000 for AmeriCorps and $10,000 for Peace Corps. So it looks like that's it in terms of wrapping up on questions. If another one comes through, we'll answer it while we're starting to wrap up. But it looks like that's going to be it. So we did record this, and we'll be posting this on our YouTube channel. Once we get it up and running, it usually takes about 3 to 5 business days. Then we'll email out to everybody that registered for this the links. That way you can view it if you want to go back and review any of this information. And then again, you can see my contact information here. So if there's anything specific that you want to talk about that we didn't address, then feel free to send me an email, or if you want to be directly in contact with me, the students, they'd be more than happy to chat with you via email as well. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and end it. And thank you so much for joining us. There is a very quick survey that will pop up at the end of this. I think it's only like 4 questions. So I'd really appreciate it if you guys could fill that out for us pretty quickly before you wrap up. But with that, we'll go ahead and close off, and thank you so much.